Hello and welcome back to No Bullshit. Today we return to talking about one of the worst and most left-leaning pro-social justice warrior media outlets in the world today. Of course, as the title of this video suggests, we're discussing the BBC. This British Broadcasting Corporation also has the awkward footnote of being publicly funded too. Yes, Brits pay taxes and a licensing fee every year in order to fund liberal propaganda that's being shoved down their throats by media titans and their own government. Regardless of the messed up premise for this company though, today we're here to talk about one of their new, common, pro-SJW stories. Apparently haircuts are becoming problematic for them, at least for certain alphabet-type people who have nothing else to complain about anymore. Clearly the planet is doing well when all woke minorities have to complain about is when and where they get their haircuts and how much they're going to have to pay for them. Today's story concerning this comes from a tweet and video sent out by BBC Social's account. Right here, it says, "The struggles of getting a haircut as a non-binary person." Struggles, you say? I don't know about all that. If it were me, I would call not having enough food to eat a struggle. Looking for a job because you desperately need to support your family, that's a real struggle. Or fighting off a dangerous disease is. But not being able to find a place to cut your hair? Not so much. First of all, technically, no one even needs to cut their hair at all. You can just let it grow long and put a ponytail on it later if need be. No one ever got sick or died because their hair was too long. At least not that I've seen. So really, keeping that truth in mind, the actual problem here is this non-binary alphabet person can't get their hair cut exactly the way they want it, probably at a specific place and for a certain price that they need it to be done by. So that's hardly a struggle anymore, right? It's really more of a preference that this person won't compromise on. And while I respect people standing their ground and wanting things to be better and stuff too, I still can't get past the whole claiming of struggle here, because not getting exactly the haircut when and where you want it and at a certain price, that's hardly a struggle at all. Regardless of all this bad logic though, let's go ahead and dive into the attached video under this tweet and see where this all goes.
Sometimes I need a haircut. It's really that simple. But simplicity seems to jump out the window when I head out the door into our society, which has a limited capacity for people who don't fit the norm.
I don't know, man. You look like a pretty normal and typical hipster leftist to me. Even with those bold glasses and piercings and the gauged ears, well, I hate to break it to you, buddy, but you're not really that special anymore. Sure, this isn't what an overall normal or average person might look like, but I also think you're overplaying your specialness and your uniqueness quite a bit too. And it's pretty obvious why. Obviously, this alphabet person in the video wants to be special, and it's oh so apparent because it's basically written all over them, and you could tell by the way they act and talk. This is a common trait with many current year leftists too. They want to be different and feel special, but instead of doing something interesting with their lives or working hard and accomplishing something great, well, SJWs like this take the easy way out, and they try and become special by dressing different, looking funny, and dyeing their hair bright colors, and also tattooing and piercing and mutilating their bodies in various ways too. And most importantly, the go-to way for a leftist to get attention is to play the victim and adopt and make up struggles and lifestyles to try and make them stand out too. It's actually kind of sad and a little pathetic when you think about it like this. These kinds of people really have nothing going for them, so they're forced to play these alphabet characters to get attention. And that's why they use their supposed sexualities as a personal identity, instead of, say, identifying as an American, a British person, or a man or woman or basketball player, or a fine dining chef or something. Well, instead of that, leftists call themselves non-binary lesbians, or intersectional feminist, or other nonsense. And this kind of made-up silly wordplay in terms like this, it's really getting old. For another example, if you want to see how funny this kind of identifying sounds, just imagine if a straight person did the same kind of thing. If your main trait or presentation term was something like, "I'm a straight white person from Colorado," well, that sounds kind of off. Saying you're a straight activist or heterosexual conforming sounds silly too, just like how all this alphabet stuff does as well.
And we're normally offered female or male. Mark the box of a tick. Please make yourself fit. But I'm more that other, if that's even an option. Like I'm some thing on the outside, existing beside the world as it rolls by, all pink and blue.
this person is really thinking highly of themselves, huh? Almost like this othered identity is all they have going for them. But again, looking at them here, and I just don't see what all the fuss is about. Sure, they could be either male or female. I can see this sort of androgynous look this person has, but that's really not anything new or special either. In fact, musical artists like David Bowie did the whole androgynous thing many decades ago. And even heavy metal and rock band dudes have had long hair and makeup on all the way back since the 1980s. So if these people could get haircuts back then like this, surely this person in the video can now too. I mean, just look at their hair again. I don't even see what the big deal is here. Looks to me like it's a few inches on top and then it's tapered down to be shorter on the sides. This is a pretty standard boy haircut too, but I guess that's this person's problem. And this problem is even more petty than not getting the haircut you want, which is already lame. But no, it looks like the real issue is this person can get the haircut, but they don't want to have to call it a certain thing or have to go to a boy barber shop to get it. Jesus, can you really get more picky than this? Sorry, your cut of choice is more common with dudes, but that's the world we live in. If I wanted to go out wearing pink hats every day, I might have to look at and shop in women's sections to find them. Not really a big deal unless you're a helpless SJW like this who thinks everything they don't like and every inconvenience they might suffer is some kind of capital offense.
In this society entirely divisible by two into woman and man, but I relate most to that ampersand. And I need a haircut. So option one is the salon. That womanly world of perfumed femininity.
Okay, now I can't even understand this person. Option one is that salon, perfumed femininity. Sounds like they're really gargling those words. But really, I'm sure a salon can give you a haircut like that, what you want, no problem. You could probably learn to cut your own hair that way if you really wanted to, or you could just go to a Great Clips and get it done for like $15. As for the not identifying as a male or female, which was said before, well, again, I think it's just more of this wannabe special stuff. Really, I think this is just a girl who presents more boyish, because the other way around would make little sense. Why would a boy be trying to look like a boy but complain about people not giving them boyish haircuts? Wouldn't work that way. And this whole thing is getting confusing, but it's not boring either, so let's go ahead and move on.
Option two is the barbers, which isn't much better since this voice and these swells in my chest make me feel like an infiltrator. But barbers or salon when I get to the chair. Before we can even touch on my hair, there's this question which hangs there unuttered and awkward.
Yeah, the question is, how do you want your hair cut? It's really that simple, and you really shouldn't be overthinking things like this too much when you get your hair done. I'm sure 9 out of 10 places to get your haircuts or more, they would just cut your hair however you asked. Perhaps there might be some confusion the first time, but that can honestly happen with anyone. I don't know what alphabet people have in mind here, but it appears they think us straight hetero people have perfect lives that never get weird or awkward ever. It's not true though. I myself even dread getting haircuts sometimes too because I don't like explaining things and I can't stand the small talk at times. Luckily, I only need to go in like a couple times a year, but even at most, how often are the most frequent haircuts anyway? Maybe you'd go in once or twice a month at most? Give me a break. This person in the video is acting like they have to go through this horror show every day too, and like it's the worst thing in their life, when really, this is the same kinds of things everyone else has to deal with too. So again, you're not as special as you think.
And through the mirror they ask if I'm a boy or a girl. Am I trans? Am I gay? And I don't know what to say. Sometimes I pick my labels to make other people feel okay. But it's never enough to say where I'd like to be trimmed or shaved. They need to know my sex.
Well, I'm going to have to go ahead and press X for doubt on this one, guys. Have you ever heard of a salon or barber asking people what their gender is before a haircut? I don't know, maybe they would if it wasn't as obvious, but again, this guy's pretty obviously presenting as a dude. He certainly has his hair cut short and it falls under a typical dude haircut. And sure, girls can get that cut too, just like how guys can grow their hair long and cut it like a girl as well. But the greater point is, I'm highly skeptical this is happening to this person at all. Really, this is all being highly exaggerated and overblown for this wannabe woke video done by the BBC. But let's go ahead and pretend this is all true for a minute now, because it actually wouldn't even be that bad overall, especially considering this person just said they don't even know what their labels are themselves. So if you don't know, how can you blame anyone else for asking in what seems to be a pretty level-headed and respectful way? I guess this person just wants people to never ask them anything, and they want to be this special cater-to snowflake who never experiences anything awkward or uncomfortable in in their entire lives. Because if they do, they'll certainly blow up those minor offenses into this terrible argument and pointless BBC video pandering to leftists like this.
How else can they charge the appropriate rate? I'm sure you've seen the signs. Gents trim £5, women's trim 9. It doesn't matter how I define anyway when the hair on our head's charged by what's between our legs, and as usual, there always seems to be a higher price to pay for those who are female.
So now we're getting into this whole pink tax narrative, I guess. The pink tax isn't what it's called here exactly, but it's basically the same premise. Essentially, from time to time, SJWs will complain that women have to pay more for things than men sometimes, which they call the pink tax. But actually, they imply it's being done because it's not fair and there's sexism against women, when really it makes total sense in most cases since the female products are costing more to make. Like, for example, with shaving razors. Women's razors tend to be softer and have lotions and perfume smells on them. Those extra features cost more money to make too, so the stores charge more to buy them. But apparently SJW women want special treatment once again. Shocking. That's why they demand more expensive products to be priced less, just because they're marketed to women. This also, of course, ignores the obvious. They could just buy and use the cheaper male razors they're making their false equivalents to. But no, that's too easy and that's too fair and rational and level-headed. And as for haircuts again, in the pink tax angle of that in this video, well, it makes no sense there either, since women's haircuts cost more because they take longer and require more work to do, usually because there's more hair and stuff to deal with. It's like if you were mowing 2 lawns at different houses in your neighborhood, and say one of the lawn jobs gets you paid $20 because the lot is smaller and can be cut within 30 minutes. But then the next lawn you have to cut will pay you $40 because it's twice as large and takes twice as long to manage. This is fair and makes total sense, but according to SJWs and their anti-pink tax flawed logic, both lawns should be paying you $20 to cut them, even though one is twice as big. Makes no sense, but I guess it doesn't have to, because according to leftists, their arguments aren't about facts or logic or reason or doing what's right. They're about being emotional, selfish, anti-male, and pro-female whenever possible.
But still too often, there's some of us standing, clutching our bladders stuck, trying to decipher which bathroom door symbol we better resemble.
Why don't you just go in whatever bathroom you feel like, dude? I really couldn't care less about it. In fact, I pop into the ladies' room sometimes myself. If there's a line at the boys' room or it's really dirty or out of TP, I just check the girls' restroom, and if there's no one there, I go ahead and use it. No one's really going to stop you or kick you out or arrest you in most of these situations, especially if you're some kind of alphabet person with the whole story and shit like this. Really, again, this video's subject is just desperate for attention, and they're so unoppressed and so comfortable and safe, they literally have to make shit up to get offended by. That way they can still pretend they deserve victim points and attention and special treatment. And now that I think about it, this to me really seems to be an unexpected side effect of this whole pro-SJW, pro-alphabet, and liberal stuff that's getting so popular now. This is what happens when your identity is so hinged on being a minority, a victim, and being different. And then when this radical left-wing BS gets popular like it is now, and then these wild cards aren't so special or different anymore, well, now this person in the video is just as common as any other alphabet person, which are becoming more common themselves, especially in mainstream media. And since they're not as big of victims or as special anymore, that's why they lash out and make up stuff like this. And that's why these types of people are desperately trying to find other new problems to cry about, ones that sound rather mundane and not so bad at all, at least to normal people like us. What do you guys think? Is getting a haircut really this hard? Talk about first world problems, am I right? And also, what do you think about this pink tax baloney? Are women really charged more unfairly, or do they just expect to pay less for more expensive products? Which goes against every business practice in the world, but it does go well with their socialist, communist, everything should be shared and free mindsets. Comment your thoughts on everything below, and thanks for watching No Bullshit. Hit that like button to help support this channel, and we'll see y'all next time.